Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. I hope everybody had an absolutely amazing weekend. I hope you're also ready to have the best day ever. And we're going to be kicking it off because we have one of our Los Al seniors and Weaver alumni, Abel Zizone, who'll be sharing a little bit about where he's going in the fall and some of his favorite memories of his time here at Weaver. And then we're going to actually have one of our incredible first graders from the always amazing Mrs. Aristoto's class. I have Cameron Griffith to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And then we're going to be able to hear chapters 19 and 20 as we continue on with this, our Song for a Whale. And we're very lucky that we have the assistant principal at Oak Middle School, Mr. Alan Mendren, to read both of those chapters. So hope everybody is ready. Let's get set and let's go make it the best day ever. Have a great day, everybody.
Hello, my name is Abel Zizone. I also went to Weaver Elementary. I went there from kindergarten to 5th grade, and I loved it there. My favorite memory was probably the Weaver Talent Show. It was so exciting because me and my friends practiced and practiced, and when we went on stage, the crowd loved it, and I remember feeling so glorified on stage.
The epic Weaver dudes are going to keep it Corky style and Weaverize it!
Hey, Macklemore, can we go thrift shopping?
What?
What?
And as for my favorite teacher, it's really hard to choose because I loved all my teachers at Weaver. They were fantastic, and I remember each and every single one of them. And I think I'd have to go with Miss Peel, as she was my kindergarten teacher. And throughout high school, I worked hard. I played water polo. I took a lot of hard classes. I explored chemistry, physics, computer science, my interests, and I've chosen computer science to go forth in college. And yeah, keep working hard and everything will fall into place. So good luck.
Good morning, Weaver Whales. My name is Cameron, and I will be leading you in the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm in Miss Aristotle's class this year. Take all hats and hoods off. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Alan Mendren, assistant principal over at Oak Middle School. Today I'm going to be reading chapters 19 and 20. Hope you enjoy. The new pods were leaving him. The youngest of the group stayed back, swimming around him in a circle, then floating nearby as the others called him. The calf was too young to have found his own song yet. He called to the large whales who swam alone, trying out clicks and chirps and fragments of a howl. With time, they might understand each other. That worried the pod. They didn't want the strange sounds piercing the waters around them. They didn't want their calf singing the song they didn't understand. It was dangerous. How would they alert them when they needed help? The humpback family called out, determined to leave yet unwilling to move on without the calf. With the final chirp, the young whale turned to join them. For a moment, the larger whale followed, knowing he wouldn't be allowed, but not ready to let go. It had been so long since he'd sung with the calf. There had been others in his family back when he himself was a calf too. The pod swam ahead, tails thrashing if he got too close. If he had remained quiet, they would have let him stay. For a time, he did hold onto his song, then revealed it little by little as his trust grew. The more he sang, the further they drifted from him, and the tighter they encircled the calf. A storm brewed in the ocean, but he wouldn't flee the area like the others. It was in the storm that he sang loudest. He was like all the others then, unable to hear his song over the wind and the crashing waves. He swam into the rough waters, bellowing his unheard song into the void of the ocean. Maybe the churning and the pounding and the rolling water that carried his sound away would rearrange them into a new composition another would hear. Chapter 20. After I calmed down, I decided I wouldn't let my family's response bother me. They just didn't get it yet. I'd firm up a plan with Andy, then try with my mom and dad. When they saw the proof that real scientist was impressed by my idea and wanted me to come out at the sanctuary, there's no way that they'd say no. They'd see how important it was. When an email from Andy came in later that night, I almost started packing a bag for Alaska. Then I read the message. Dear Iris, I'm sorry if I gave you the idea that you should hop on a plane and fly here right now. That would be really hard for you and your family to do. It's a long way to go on such a short notice. Plus, you might get here and there's nothing to see anyway. If a blue 55 doesn't show up, sometimes science is kind of boring like that. You do a lot of planning and work, and then nature doesn't cooperate like you wish it would. If your parents bring you sometimes, that's great, but they'll want to take some time to plan the trip. But please know that the view you'll have on a computer at home will be the same the other members of the team will have, or even better. Tagging a whale is important work, but it's dangerous. We'll have to get really close to the whale and put a tracker on him. A slap from his tail could knock us out of the boat. Only one other person from the team will be out there with me, and that's the guy steering the boat. Everyone else working on the expedition will be in the sanctuary, watching on a video screen. Or they'll watch from outside on the dock, but they won't see much from there. You'll be able to see everything on our camera that our cameras pick up from underwater on the boat. Afterward, I'll be happy to send you the information we get from 55's tracker. That way you'll know where he is and what he's singing too. Again, thank you so much for your work you did on this and sending us the song. I'd love to talk to you more about it, and I hope we keep in touch. I know you're going to do great things, and I'll be interested in seeing what other work you do for animals in the future. Andy. I yanked 55's sheet of music off my wall so hard that the corners ripped and the push pins flew out of their holes. Before tearing the page into pieces, I stopped myself. It wasn't his fault. This was Blue's 55 song. Whenever he was saying, wherever his language was, it was his. Still, I wouldn't be able to look at it anymore. I folded it up along with this picture and buried it in the bottom of my drawer of my desk. Wendell didn't have his own phone yet, so I had to chat online instead of texting. The chat window on the computer showed a red dot next to his name. I'd send a message anyway for him to read whenever he got online. I heard back from the sanctuary. After that, I did not know what to say. The dot next to his name stayed red as I sat there slumped in my chair. Finally, I gave up and I flopped into bed. Mom came upstairs later to tell me that Wendell was on a video phone. I shook my head to let her know that I'd talk to him another time. Lifting my arms to have a conversation would take too much effort. A string of messages from Wendell was waiting for me when I got online the next morning. What did they say? Did they like your song? Are they going to play it? Well, are you alive? In the chat window, I typed, hey, sorry, I didn't want to talk yesterday, but yeah, I heard back. They love my idea. I waited while he typed his response. That's great. So that was what was wrong yesterday. They invited me to visit sometime, and when I went there to meet, and I wanted to be there to meet the whale, my parents said it was too far away. I'd get a t-shirt from the sanctuary. Oh, and a shout out from the boat. While they're meeting the whale, using that song that I gave them. Wendell didn't type anything for a while, then wrote, I'm sorry, Iris. That's not fair. It's your idea, right? So you should get to go. I'd gone to bed feeling like I'd never be happy again. But I smiled a little then. Even though Windwell couldn't do anything to change what had happened, it helped to have someone understand how unfair it was. Thanks, Windell. I'll be okay, I guess. But I really am mad about it for a while. I'll show they'll show the expedition online, but I don't think I'll watch. Yeah, I wouldn't either. Well, come over again when you want. Jupiter and its moons will be visible soon. Thanks. See you later. Dad came in and sat on the edge of the bed while I was wrapping up my conversation with Windwell. He was holding a set of computer speakers. When I swiveled my chair around, Dad pointed at the computer. I waved him over and stood next to the chair so he could sit. He plugged the speakers in, then brought up a YouTube video of an old record player. Not as old as the one in my Admiral set, but still pretty old. Instead of a round record like these that I've seen, it was a square record spinning on a turntable. In the middle of the record was a line drawing of a humpback whale. I placed a hand over the speaker as the record played. The vibrations reminded me of some of the whale songs that I found online. Dad opened up a notepad on the computer. His typing was a lot faster and made more sense than his singing. My parents got this in a magazine when I was a kid. He clicked back to the video and he pointed to the title, Songs of the Humpback Whale, National Geographic's, 1979. Then he pointed to himself and pretended he was putting on headphones. Every day, he signed. We sat there for a while, him listening to the whale songs and me feeling like the songs through the speaker, both of us watching the spinning record on the video. Dad raised and lowered his hands to show me how the songs flowed from low to high and back again in waves. I remember from the sheet music I'd look that the humpback whales were the symphony players. The description of the video said their sounds range from very low to very high. So didn't they sometimes hit 55 hertz? As they sang from 20 to 100 to thousands of hertz, small parts of their songs had to sound like Blue 55s. I wondered if he recognized any of their sounds when he was close enough to hear them, a few notes of the song at least. Before this, no one knew they had such complex songs, Dad typed. There used to be a lot more whale hunting. After they heard them, people protested hunting whales. There was much more than anyone knew. Hi, this is Mr. Mindrin again, finishing chapter 20. So their songs saved them. That's how powerful they were. I wanted to find them too, he added. The whales I signed? He nodded. That's how you sign it, like the letter Y? Yeah, I see how it looks like the shape of a whale's tail. He held out his right hand with just his thumb and his pinky sticking out. I showed him how to move it up and down in waves to look like the tail of a swimming whale, while making a horizon with the other arm. Maybe this was Dad's way of apologizing for me what happened at dinner. I was still mad I wasn't going to get to go to Alaska to meet the whale, but this was something we'd be able to talk about. We'd never had that before, something we were both interested in. I hadn't thought that reaching out to Blue 55 would help me reach out to Dad too, but this was before I knew he was interested in whale songs. He must have understood how important they were to me now, since he came up to my room to tell me how he used to listen to them. I was about to ask him more things about the songs on the record when he typed, I wish you can hear them. I wanted to tell Dad that I could hear the whales, just not the same way he did. I didn't know how to explain so he'd understand. Every day I try to forget about Blue 55. No more reading about whales or the sanctuary expedition. For a while, I wore the wooden zenith knob alone on my necklace, but I put the compass back on since I missed the weight of it resting on my chest. I still like to think about how people might have used it a long time ago to find their way. Mr. Gunner gave me his most hopeless case, an ancient radio to show that should have been left for dead ages ago. But I'd figure it out. With radios, it was clear how the parts communicated, and whenever I fixed it, I'd know. That's how electronics were. Either the thing worked or it didn't. There wasn't any guessing about it. It took scientists a long time to figure out how whales made their sounds. They didn't open their mouths and sing like people. The song happens inside the spaces in their bodies by pushing air onto the throats and sinus. When I reached into the radio, there were some old wires insulated that crumbled into dust in my hands. Even if I got everything working, the bare metal would burn up all the work that I've done. I dug through the bundles of wires with on my workbench looking for replacements. Was Blue 55 singing right then? Did anyone hear him? I set the radio aside and went to my desk. My end of the year research paper for Miss Kahn was due soon, and I hadn't started it yet. I'd chosen radio communication as my topic. Then I asked her if I could change it to whales. Not that I didn't care about radios, but I could put all my whale research to use for my report. If I asked to change my topic again, Miss Kahn's face would turn inside out with sour pickleness. But I couldn't write about whales anymore. When I turned it in, I'd tell her that I changed my mind. I brought up my favorite sites about radio history to take some notes. FM radio signals can be detected 30 to 40 miles away. That wasn't so impressive now that I know how far whale songs could travel. It could drift even further than hundreds of miles. A song could reach up from the waves and halfway across the country, beating in time with someone's heart and pulling her into the ocean. The sanctuary people find him wouldn't be in the same. The sanctuary people finding him wouldn't be the same. Someone who heard him, who understood him, needed to be there. I shook my head to clear away my thoughts. Then I shook out my hands, trying to release the grip that Blue 55 had on me. There wasn't any point of thinking about him anymore. It would have to be enough that I'd help him. I'd stick to what I was good at, fixing things, and forgot all about the whale. The website I brought up had examples of emergency communication using radios and telegraphs. I added one of those stories to my report. One farmer connected his farm radio to his tractor battery when his radio's battery died. He heard the news about a coming storm just in time to get his family to safety in the root cellar. Then there was a shopkeeper who set his daughter out of town to keep her away from the newspaper reporter she loved. After the reporters, Matilda, please marry me, telegram reached her. They took a minister to the telegraph station and were married by Morse code before Matilda returned home. A soldier in a prisoner of war camp made a radio with a scrap of wood, a razor blade, a pencil, a safety pin, and a piece of wire from a fence surrounding the camp. At night, he would listen to reports about the war and pass the news along to his fellow prisoners. I pulled 55's picture and sheet of music from my desk drawer, where I hid them. Then I tacked them back into place on the wall. People who were desperate to communicate always found a way. I'd find a way.